The European Union is withholding £135 million budget support to Ghana due to an alleged payroll corruption scandal it is investigating. Now, according to a top British newspaper, Sunday Times, published in London on Sunday, the EU anti-fraud agency is probing a mammoth corruption scandal running into several million pounds in Ghana, being aid package from the EU to support the country's budget, among others. The money is said to have found its way into the pockets of ghost workers in government. Remember, this comes in the wake of the numerous corruption cases the country is currently battling with. This is today's big story, and my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Welcome back to today's big story, and we're told that about £400 was supposed to be allocated to Ghana for 2008 to 2013. Now, more than that of £135 million has been withheld since last year after EU officials learned of the corruption. Certainly, the withdrawal of up to £135 million support for the country will have dire implications on the country. Now, joining me online to probe the issues further is Dr. Robert Dakonse. He's a senior research fellow at the Institute at ICER. Dr. Robert, good evening and thanks for joining me.
Good evening.
We're told that an amount of £135 million is being withdrawn from the European Union to Ghana as support. Unfortunately, we lost Dr. Hello, Dr. Robert Dakon. Hello, Dr. Robert. We lost Dr. Robert. We'll continue to keep calling and see that if we can get him online to discuss the issues at stake. But we're talking about £400 million, which is supposed to be funds allocated to Ghana from 2008 to 2013. And we're told that some of these monies are being paid to ghost names. And for that reason, the IMF has been tasked to investigate the matter. And so Ghana is not enjoying more than £135 million of that support. We have Dr. Robert Dakonse again on the line. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining me.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me.
The country is losing £135 million from the European Union as support. What does this mean to the country as far as our economy is concerned?
Well, thank you very much. I guess that if you just take the face value of the amount that the country is losing, then that in itself is no small amount. £125 million indeed translates to close to 5% of the entire donor support that we are expecting in 2014. So it isn't the amount in itself. It's not a small amount. But I think that the implications of that for our economy goes beyond just the amount that is being withheld. The fact that the signal that it sends, not just to other donors, but also to the private sector, is certainly not one that we want to particularly entertain at this particular time. Given all the challenges we've had in this year with respect to the exchange rates, for instance, clearly that is problematic, and that again will reinforce some of the adverse findings that agencies such as the FIT has actually put out with respect to the general macroeconomic environment. So it's certainly the impact is not just the amount that we are actually not going to be able to assess, which is just under 5% of the total aid that is projected to come in next year. But it will go beyond that. It could actually also trigger other donors to, for instance, relook at supporting our economy.
Well, let's look at the impact it's having actually on the country, because losing 135 million pounds is no joke. And then we're also told that for 2012 to 2015, there's also an amount that's been allocated to us. And out of 250 million pounds, they're also withholding 9 million pounds for the same reason. What do you make of all of these?
I think that there is a fundamental challenge with respect to not just cost-based, but with respect to the whole government spending machinery that we need to seriously and critically look at as a country. So yes, of course, the fact that the donors are looking over our shoulder and then prompting us with some of these sticks and indeed carrots about some of these malfeasance is problematic. But for we ourselves, given the restricted nature of the revenue, I think it is imperative that we ourselves begin to look inward about ways that we can actually use to tackle this expenditure problem head on. I think that a lot of the reports that have come with respect to corruption and other things are all indicative of, it's not just perception. You know, perceptions sometimes they feed on certain things. And obviously there is a lot that is happening which reflects that all is not well with respect to our public finance management.
The country is now facing its worst times with a rise in ghost names on government payroll in recent times. What is accounting for this?
It is difficult to pinpoint any one factor. But, I mean, again, for me, I think that part of the problem, in my opinion, is the enforcement, or indeed the lack of enforcement, or the punitive measures with respect to those that are culpable. I don't think we have been, we've created a disincentive, enough disincentive for people not to actually engage in this scandal. And from, I mean, some of the stories that we've already heard in the last, in this year, for instance, example being the national service scheme, would suggest that it isn't just one or two people just trying to cheat the system, but rather it's quite a systemic and indeed a very organized group that is actually undertaking this. And so it is not something that we can actually just wish away with words. We really need to seriously engage with people and indeed, in my full opinion, use the right technology, which IT has developed to that extent that we can actually use it in a meaningful way to try and deal with this canker.
Kindly hold on for me as Dr. Anthony Akutose joins the discussion. He's a ranking member for Parliament's Finance Committee, and he's a former member of former Minister for Finance under the Kufuor administration. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining me.
Good evening.
Dr. Koto, we're just being told or slapped with the news that Ghana is losing 135 million pounds as support from the European Union. For you, are you worried about this trend, and what impact will that make on our economy?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I think we need to seek some clarity as to what it's about. Whether they are worried about the use of 135 million pounds sterling and therefore the potential loss of future funds. Because my understanding is that they worry that the budget support that came earlier, they think that it may have been misapplied. So we should seek clarity.
The issue, Dr. Akoto, is that they realize that some of the monies are actually being paid to ghost names. I mean, people who do not exist. And so yes, IMF is now tasked to investigators.
The use of already disbursed funds. Not that we lose 135, because we stand to lose more than 135 million. So if that's a concern, it is a concern. And I think the sooner the government addresses the problem, the better. The issue is that there may be people on the payroll that do not belong there. And I think that is in the bosom of the government to find out if it is true, and if it's true, remove them. Because the fact that the matter has been brought before the EU Parliament tells me that it is taking some very serious dimension, which, if not rectified, could disrupt our current budget process and maybe in the future. So I think it's a very serious matter, and I urge the government. I'm so far I haven't heard any response from the government side, but I think they should stick to address it. I heard this story from 5 weeks ago, and now it's coming to the public domain. But it is that serious.
The most interesting one is that for 2012 to 2015, we're supposed to also get about 250 million pounds from Britain, and they are also cutting down more than 9 million pounds for the same reason.
The amount is for a 3-year period.
Yes.
All of them is for a 3-year period.
The first one is from 2008. Okay, okay, sir.
The EU is even more. I think 850 million euro or something like that. So potential consequences are there. And if we want to have a program with the IMF, we cannot have it if there's such a gap.
Yeah,
so I think that it is urgent that we deal with the problem as quickly as possible.
That brings me back to our negotiation with IMF or an IMF bailout. Certainly, I feel that all of these can have some implications, or it can have some interference in our negotiations. Do you differ on this?
This is the point that I was raising for you. Because the matter has not been solved, and because the IMF cannot go to their board with a financing gap, unless the matter is solved, because the IMF will need assurances from our partners that there's no gap. I mean, if our partners are not willing to invest, then there'll be a gap. So we have direct consequences for the IMF program.
Let's get down to this issue of ghost names. It keeps recurring, and if you listen to the finance minister on the floor of Parliament when he was delivering this statement for 2015, he made mention that ghost names are one of the issues that government needs to deal with. It looks like it's not going away. What is it that we're not doing right, or what is causing all of this?
Our systems are weak, and we need to correct them immediately. I think we should move to a biometric system where you only get paid if, for example, you logged in. So if you haven't showed up and you're not there, if it's biometric, then I cannot log in for you, and vice versa. I cannot. So we need to. I mean, I think there's technology in the world that can easily solve the problem, and if we have to spend money to buy it, we need to do that. That is the only way. Because there are reports of several employees who don't even show up for work, but at the end of the month, go and pick up a paycheck. That should not happen.
You're a former member of, a former minister for finance under the Kufuor government, and I believe ghost names also existed at that time. At your time, or during your era, how did you handle the issue of ghost names?
I think we kept doing audits, and on the spot audit, it's an ongoing exercise. But I think this time the quantum that I'm hearing about is extraordinary. I mean, you remember the National Service incident? I mean, 22,000. Here, I'm hearing numbers ranging between 40 to 100,000. That's huge. It should not occur. I mean, 100 here, 200 there, I can see. But hundreds of thousands, that's very huge.
So what do we do now? You are the experts. Can you advise us? Because we are overwhelmed with this issue.
The ministry should ask for help if they cannot solve it, and get the help that will make them. The first thing is that if it is true that these people are there, they should remove them. And then put a burden on those who say that they probably hide. And they did that with the 40,000 who were supposed to be what they refer to as zero bank accounts. Now the burden is on those people to go and prove that they are legitimate employees. So they should put a burden on those 100,000 or so who claim that they are the payroll. Just free their payroll and let them come and testify. how they got there.
How easy is it to remove such ghost names? Because it looks like government is battling with it, and it looks like
I hear there was an audit that threw out this list, so they know who the names are. So you freeze the pay of those people, and you notify them that they should go to the appropriate office to prove that. Because I hear there was an audit that threw out these names, so you know the names. It's not that they don't know the names.
They know the names.
Yes, the audit will say these persons appear to be ghosts. Then, I mean, they did it for the 40,000 zero bank accounts. They did it. Once they realized that their bank accounts were not in the system, they froze their pay, and now some of them are going back to prove that, the mistake was not there. The system is weak, and it's too much manual interference. We should make it as less manual as possible, so that less errors will come into play.
Well, many thanks. Let's hold it then. Let me go back to Dr. Robert Darko. Say earlier on, we're talking about Ghana losing £135 million as support from foreign donors. Now we're talking about ghost names, and this seems to be a canker. Government is facing its worst times when it comes to ghost names on government payrolls. You, as an economic expert, from your point of view, from where you stand, what do you think we're not doing right as a country?
I think that, it goes back to, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Yes, I think it goes back to some of the points that Dr. Koto made. Clearly, I, working in the public sector, know that there has been an audit, a biometric audit, where we had to actually re-register and our biometrics were taken. So clearly there is a underlying data that should inform this ghost names. But again, I'm not too sure what exactly has been done with that system. So the payroll of these ghost names should be possible, like Dr. Akuto was saying. But the second point that I think is also important in this fight against, quote-unquote, the ghost names is the issue of supervision. Okay, so in the different sectors, there has to be some level of supervision which is effective. And I'm sure that if we do have supervision, from a very, very simple example, if I am the boss of this subsector, I should know physically those who are actually in the sector.
Government seem to be
able to do the verification.
I think that government seem to be overwhelmed with the whole issue. Could you offer some advice, some technical advice as to how government can go about this?
No, I guess that clearly off the hook, I think that if it is overwhelmed, clearly it needs technical people who can actually work the data and then bring it before some of these lists. For instance, if we have published in our dailies all the supposed ghost names, if somebody isn't a ghost, that person clearly would come forward and then have it classified. That certainly can be done. But also remember that, again, I made the point that typically what you also do is to create a disincentive for others to actually try and cheat the system. But if we have all these stories, whether it's the Auditor General, whether it's stories that have come out like the National Service Scheme, etc., and people are really not prosecuted, to say the least, it kind of doesn't provide them a disincentive for others to also join in that kind of game, which in the end also affects all of us.
Well, many thanks to you, Dr. Robert Darko said. That's all time will allow us. We look forward to interrogating this issue further. Thank you so much. But the issue at stake puts the country's reputation on the spot. Now, international relations expert Vladimir Nchidanso is with the Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, LICEAD, and he joins me on this matter. Good evening, sir. Thanks for joining me. So, Doc,
good evening.
What do you make of the fact that Ghana is being investigated for having lots of ghost names on her payroll, resulting in a loss of more than £135 million last year and another £9 million this year for same reasons?
Well, it's very unfortunate. I don't know about the 9 million which has been lost this year, but what I know of that is that they are rather withholding about £9 million which should have been with us this year. The UK is a country which holds about 13.5% of the EU aid throughout the third world. And if such is the situation, they would not report you to the IMF for investigation. So if you are having any programs with the IMF, you go to us. And so it's very, very unfortunate that we are unable to, or we have allowed corruption to eat into the fabric of the support that they give us for budget. Between 19 and 27% of our budget every year comes from donor organizations or donor partners. And if this is what's going to be, then there will be a donor fatigue. And again, out there, those who give money for the government to give it to us as donors will rise against this. And already in Germany, there is a think tank that has gotten up very strongly against the giving of aid for direct budgetary support because of this issue. If that continues, then I think between this year and next year and the next, we're going to have several problems with donor support for the budget.
But let's see how we can deal with this unpleasant image, because it looks like it will continue to thwart all our efforts towards international support. How do we deal with these issues?
It depends on the government. The government must be very strong on this issue because, look, it's now a non-hidden fact that Ghana is being looked at as a country which is seemingly well-governed, if you take it in juxtaposition to other countries around us. But then at the same time, there is so much corruption that nothing that they would give us would move. DFID is investigating this. JICA is now looking at a whole lot of things towards Ghana. So government must be interested. Government must sit up. But there are high-profile kind of corruption, and we need to name and shame. That is the only way we'll stop this. Other than that, I'm telling you, the future of our governance system is going to be very difficult. There is no government which doesn't rely on direct budgetary support from donor countries. But some countries reserve up to 0.7%, but Denmark and others reserve up to even 1% of their GNI for donor support. And if we continue like this, we will lose it. And but the picture is bad, and government must sit up. There's no hiding here. I mean, let's deal with the situation by making sure we know where the money went and what went wrong.
Let's look at international diplomacy dealing with government to government, and you look at the Ghana government. What approach do you think the Ghana government should adopt? Because it looks like we're losing the battle.
Yes, the first thing they will do is to show the international community that they are serious about this thing and that they will be able to either receive the money or show how effective they will block the loopholes. That's the first point. The next point is to really, do the walking and the talking. We need to really let the international community with us about the measures we want to take and assure them that they are lapses. If we don't really spend, our ambassadors don't work on this. Whoever is the ambassador in UK, you have to doing serious work, and whoever is the ambassador in Brussels will have to assure that this is something, a misstep, and we will correct it. If we don't take that diplomatic step, I doubt if there is anything that we would want to do about it.
I'd like you to briefly comment on this ghost name issues, because it's one of the biggest issues, and government is getting overwhelmed with dealing with that issue. Where can we start from dealing with ghost names on government payrolls?
You see, many more countries are going paperless somehow. I've been visiting Rwanda, and I tell you, people are going places. And why can't we use the better side of globalization to stop all this kind of fraud? Of course, there is fraud on the internet. But I doubt if your fingerprint is used in all transactions, we would have any problem like that. So the first point of call is to ensure that we have this national identification system working. It goes everywhere, and corruption will be minimized to almost nil. With your national ID, where your fingerprint is the only one that identifies you, banking, police work, or whatever it is, criminality will be nil in terms of this kind of ghost name. If we don't do that, I don't see how we can tackle it. The paperwork and whatnot, it will just bring back everything. So we need to go paperless when it comes to these monies and whatnot, transactions about payments. That's the only way, my dear.
But in a country where we have different cards for different issues, for instance, we have the National Health Insurance card, we have SNET card, we have this and that. Yeah, do you see this manufacturing in our country?
If we have the will, there will be the way. And that is why I'm sad that we abrogated the national identification exercise and we politicized it. You go to Rwanda and every citizen has a national ID. And that is one-stop shop. So we'll have to use that one-stop shop for national identification in all forms, Electoral Commission, all those ones you mentioned. Your one national ID. Then the EC will tap in from the national ID. The banks, the hospitals, everybody would, the police, they would tap in from the national ID. So there will be no duplication. So that is where we must turn all our attention and put enough resources to get that national ID.
Those have had a lot of challenges in getting that national ID. And so in the interim, whilst we wait to get the national identification card, what do we do with all that we have at hand?
I strongly suspect that I don't believe in any interim. If there is a way to stop all this, what is the interim? So I was mad when we stopped that exercise, because we should have finished with that exercise by now. It wouldn't take more than 1 year for this exercise to be done. So I'm saying let government put all their money that they have into the national identification exercises. They're throwing away boards and setting new boards and politicizing the whole thing. Let us put people who know how to do the thing, put them there. I registered, I've never gotten my card. Several people registered, they never got their card. Then the board was, thrown away, a new board set up, and we haven't gotten anyway. So there is no interim in this case. If we want Ghana to be governed properly, prudence in economic governance, the way out is to spend money within 6 months, we should be able to get the card. It's a national emergency exercise, and we can get it done because it is fingerprint.
Finally, thank you so much, Dr. Vladimir Nchidanso, for that interview. Finally, I have Vitus Azim. He's Executive Director at the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Thanks for joining me, sir.
You're welcome.
We have been discussing ghost names on government payroll, and we look at the issue that seems not to be going away. What are we not doing right? What is the problem with us as a country?
Well, I think it's not just what we are not doing right, but what we are doing wrong. Because some ghost names are deliberately put there. You keep announcing that you have removed the ghost names. You don't trace who has put those ghost names there and sanction those people. So they keep putting those names there because somebody puts the ghost names there. What do you do to that person that puts the ghost names there? So it is what we are doing wrong, not what we are not doing right. But also on what we are not doing right, we are not doing serious supervision over these payrolls. Some people are supposed to sign that these people are actually employed. They must have employment letters. At the end of the month, somebody is supposed to endorse that the fellow has come to work. And if that person doesn't also do it, then you keep paying people who may not even be in the community there, and yet they keep being paid as either teachers or NADMO people or whatever.
But quickly, Vitus, this is no longer a local issue. It has taken international dimension, and this is critical for our image as a country. What do we do as a country, briefly?
Well, I think that transparency is very important for all these things. Take prompt action. Let people know that you have taken prompt action. You don't just come and say you've removed 500 ghost names. Tell us who they are, where they are working, who people put them on the payroll, what action you are taking against those who put them on the payroll, and show that you have also recovered money for those who have been wrongly paid, people who are not working. So if we do that, I'm sure we'll clean our name.
Well, many
but
thanks
unfortunately,
to you.
we are not likely to do that.
Many thanks to you, Mr. Vitus Azim. That's all time will allow us. Up next will be JN Interactive.